They say God lives in the details. In my world, God lives in the sub-zero hum of a Liebert unit, keeping terabytes of classified military data from melting straight through the floor. I'm Karen. Yeah, I know. Go ahead. Lab picture, a woman screaming at a barista because the soy milk foamed wrong. Get that image out of your head. It's not me. I'm the reason your social security number isn't currently being auctioned on a Russian dark web forum for the price of a chicken. I'm the reason guidance systems for things that go boom in the desert hit sand instead of a school bus. For 10 years. I was director of security operations for a hybrid private defense contractor I won't name because the NDAs are thicker than a Bible and punish harder than eternal damnation. I managed 10 data centers carved into the jagged spine of the Rockies. These weren't server farms hosting cat videos and conspiracy theories. These were Fort Knox for digital ghosts. We held Department of Defense contracts, the kind without logos. Just alphanumeric codes and clearance levels that need blood samples to view. I loved the cold. My office stayed at a strict 64 degrees, matching the server floors. No family photos. No hang-in-there-cat posters. My walls were live thermal heat maps, packet traffic logs, live feeds from biometric airlocks. That was my family. That was my garden. I pruned weak code, watered firewalls, with encryption updates, ripped out weeds usually incompetence by the root. The first crack in the hull appeared on a Tuesday. I was on the floor in Sector 4, my favorite. Perfect acoustics. The fans hummed in a B-flat drone that quieted the rage in my skull. I watched at Junior Tech, Kevin 12 years old by appearance, powered entirely by desperation and energy. Drinks attempt. A hot swap on a Tier 1 rack. Kevin, I said. My voice doesn't echo down there. The soundproofing eats it. Just appears inside your head. He jumped, nearly dropping a drive worth more than his Honda Civic. Jesus, Corinne, you scared me. If you drop that drive, Kevin, you won't worry about me, I said, taking it from his shaking hands. You'll worry about the men in suits who don't smile. You didn't ground yourself. I can see static jumping off your fleece. You want to fry a circuit tied to a satellite uplink? Because that's how you disappear somewhere the sun doesn't shine. And I don't mean Seattle. I slid the drive in. Click. Green lights flickered. Dopamine order restored. And speaking of restoring order, if you'll enjoy stories where competent people get steamrolled by corporate idiots and then watch the fallout, hit subscribe or drop a like. It fuels my cold dead heart to know I'm not screaming into the void alone. Anyway, back to the disaster. I walked toward the elevator, heels, clicking on anti-static tile like a countdown timer. Kevin wasn't the problem. Kevin was teachable. The problem lived upstairs, 10th floor, executive suite. For a decade, I'd kept the Pentagon from kicking our doors in by running the tightest ship imaginable. But the old CEO, someone who understood that security meant secrecy, not enter the new regime. His name was Preston. Loafers, no socks. Teeth so white they looked radioactive. He spoke fluent disruption, synergy, and cultured the kind of language that collapses when a Chinese botnet hits your firewall at 3 a.m. Preston didn't care about DOD specs. He cared about stock price. In vibes. The elevator dinged. My badge turned green. I had access to everything. Every door, file, camera. I knew who stole lunches in marketing, who slept with the HR intern, and who actually worked. Me and 3 guys underground. The executive floor smelled warm. Lavender, expensive coffee, weakness. I passed collaboration pods and beanbags where 20-somethings I dated. My meeting invite read, touch base, vision, vibes. I hate the word vibes. You can't encrypt a vibe. You can't firewall a vibe. A vibe is just a vulnerability with a spray tan. Preston's office was glass. All of it. Zero privacy. A security nightmare. Preston stood. Beside him his daughter, Brittany, 24, media studies degree from a college that probably accepts crayon drawings as tuition. Newly appointed VP of Brand Voice. And then there was him. The catalyst. The herald of the apocalypse. Hoodie, $600. Looked chewed by a rat. Legs over a leather chair arm, scrolling his phone. Karen. Preston beamed. Come in. We were just talking about you. Director, I corrected, sitting without shaking his hand. Director of Security Operations. What's wrong, Halon Leak? No? Reston laughed. We're pivoting. New era defense is cold, rigid. We want to humanize our data. Humanize targeting telemetry. I stared. You want it accurate and silent. That gatekeeper energy, Brittany said. We're shifting it. It's literally a gate, I said flatly. That's my job. Karen. Preston smiled tightly. Meet Chase, Brittany's cousin, our new chief of cyberculture and data innovation. Chase looked up, empty eyes. Sup? Heard you run a tight ship, he said. We're loosening it. Make it flow. Like water? Water destroys. Servers metaphorically. He smirked. Open source dashboards. Democratize access. My heart rate slowed. Combat response. Does Chase have clearance? I asked. Because touching Tier 1 violates federal statute? Preston sighed. You're always so technical. Chase built a Discord server with 10,000 members. He got banned for hate speech. Brittany giggled. Iconic. I stood. Duazo was already in the air. You're firing me? Transitioning? Preston said. We need a fresh face. You're replacing an NSA analyst with a Discord mod. He's chief of cyberculture. Brittany insisted. Chase picked his nose. Subtle. He thought. No one noticed. Okay, I said. Badge? I placed the keycard on the glass. Taba, clack. Good luck, I said. We make our own luck, Chase replied. I walked out. No slam, no scene. Just the measured pace of someone who knows where the bodies are buried because she dug them. They thought they removed a roadblock. They didn't realize they pulled the control rod from a reactor.hr. Hovered as I packed. Sweater, medication, certification plaques, heavy enough to kill a man. Then the notification hit. Mandatory town hall. New era, new vibes. Meet Chase. I watched from my office. Preston grinned on stage. Karen is pursuing other opportunities. Applause. Polite. Chase grabbed the mic. Sunglasses indoors. What's up, data fan? I winced. Security is a mindset, he said. Positive vibes, block negative packets. I whispered it back. It sounded even dumber. I picked up the binder. Tier 1 emergency protocols. The Bible. I looked at Chase dancing. I put the binder in my box. Personal property. HR squeaked. Memories. I lied. I left Dot in the parking lot. My truck waited. I patted the binder. They'll miss you, I said. I drove off. The building looked peaceful, secure. For now, I give it a week. Maybe 2. Entropy is patient. Incompetence is fast. They didn't trust the internal network, and they definitely didn't trust a 20-some wearing a Supreme hoodie. The core of our DoD compliance was something called the heartbeat handshake. Every 72 hours, the Tier 1 servers required a manual authentication token. This token had to be generated by a certified security officer, me, using a specific Caressa key on a specific air-gapped terminal. If the heartbeat wasn't received, the system assumed the facility had been compromised. It assumed the building had been overrun by hostiles. So, what does the system do in that scenario? It doesn't explode, it locks down, it enters turtle mode. It severs all external connections, encrypts the locale drifts with a 4096-bit key that would take a supercomputer a billion years to crack, and sends a silent distress signal to the Pentagon. Chase didn't know about the heartbeat. Why would he? Was too busy setting up a chill-out zone in the server room. I drove home tummy cabin. I live about 40 miles out of town up in the foothills. No neighbors, just pine trees and spotty cell service, which is how I like it. I unpacked my box. I put my plaques on the mantle. I put the binder in my safe right next to me birth certificate and my grandfather's service pistol. Then I made tea, Earl Grey, hot, and I sat on my porch and waited. The first 24 hours were quiet. I imagined Chase was busy on boring, which probably involved vending out where the vending machines were and setting up his ring light. My phone buzzed. It was David, the lead network architect. David! Karen, are you serious? Me as a heart attack. Dave, I'm out. David, this guy is a hedgist. Asked me if we can route the cooling system exhaust to heat the break room floor, because his feet get cold? Me. Don't do that, Dave. Moisture buildup. David, I know, I told him. He said I was being negative energy. Karen, he's asking for the admin passwords. Therod access. I sipped my tea. The sun was setting, painting the mountains in hues of purple and gold. It was beautiful me. Do not give him root. Dave, you know the protocol? If he's not on the authorized personnel list, Apple, giving him root is a breach of contract. David, I told him that he said he's the chief of cyberculture and he outranks the lists. He's threatening to fire me. Let him. If he fires you, you get severance. If you give him the codes, anti-feds, find out. You get Leavenworth. David, God help us. I put the phone down. I could feel the tension radiating off the device. It was starting. Chase was hitting the first wall. Permission structure. In his world, if you bought software, you owned it. In my world, nobody owns the software. The software owns you. I checked my watch. It had been 30 hours since I generated the last heartbeat token. That meant they had 42 hours left before the system started asking questions. I decided to do some gardening. I have a nice patch of tomatoes. Weeding is therapeutic. You pull the invader out. The soil breathes. The plant thrives. It's simple, binary. Alive or dead. In or out. As I was pulling a stubborn dandelion, I thought about the reforms Preston was probably bragging about to the board right now. Streamlined efficiency, he'd say. New, energetic leadership. They were likely celebrating my departure. Maybe they even had a cake. Good riddance to the buskill. I ripped the dandelion out, roots and all, dirt scattered across my gloves. The thing about cyberculture is that it doesn't account for the physical reality of heat and electricity. Chase was about to learn that you can't influence a circuit breaker. You can't gaslight a firewall. My phone buzzed again. A notification from LinkedIn. Chase's viewing your profile. I laughed. A dry, rasping sound that startled a nearby squirrel. He was looking for credentials. He was looking for the keys. He probably realized the admin panels were grayed out and he couldn't figure out why. He wouldn't find the answer on LinkedIn. The answer was in a binder, in a safe, in a cabin he didn't know existed. The sun dipped below the horizon. The air grew cold. I wrapped my cardigan tighter around myself. Tick-tock Chase. Tick-tock the texts. From the inside started coming in faster, like distress signals from a sinking submarine. David. 48 hours since departure. He's bringing in outside contractors. Consultants, he knows from his crypto mining days. They're walking around the server, floor with laptops. Unvetted laptops. Karen. They're plugging into the diagnostic ports. I read the text and felt a spick of genuine fear. Not for my job, that was gone, but for the data. Plugging an unverified laptop into a Tier 1 diagnostic port is like having unprotected intimacy in a plague ward. It's suicidal. Me log it, Dave. Document everything time, date, MAC addresses if you can get them. Don't interfere. Just witness. I wasn't just being petty. I was building a case file because when the Inquisition came, and it was coming, I needed to make sure the blast radius didn't hit the good people like David. By Friday afternoon, the 72-hour heartbeat window was closing. I was sitting at my kitchen table cleaning my grandfather's service pistol. It's a rhythmic process. Disassemble, clean oil, reassemble, click, slide, snap. My laptop was open to the public-facing status page of the company's network. Greenlights. Across the board for now. Then, a new notification. This time it wasn't a text. It was a phone call. That caller ID, said unknown. I let it ring twice. Then I picked up. This is Karen. Karen, it's Preston. The CEO's voice, waist-tight strained. The vibes were clearly not immaculate. Preston, I said, continuing to wipe the slide of Epistol with a rag. 2. What do I owe the pleasure? I thought we had transitioned. Look, we're having a small technicality, he said. He sounded like he was trying to smile through the phone. Chase is adjusting to the systems. He's asking for the master override password for the legacy containment protocol. The legacy containment protocol? I asked. Ignorance? You mean the heartbeat? Yes, that the heartbeat thingy? It's flashing red on the main board. It's annoying Gavarian. It's killing the mood. Chase says it's just a legacy glitch you left behind. It's not a glitch, Preston. It's a dead man switch. It ensures that a certified officer is at the helm. Right, Preston said impatient. Well, Chase is the officer now, so just give me the code. I'll pass it to him, and we can all move on. We'll pay you a consulting fee. $500. I almost dropped the gunslide. $500. Preston, that system protects national security assets. And you want me to give the nuclear codes to a kid who got Fred from Discord over the phone for $500? Karen, don't be difficult. Just give us the code. I can't, I said a code changes every time it's used. It's generated by a token that is currently in a safe. A safe that belongs to Thea Rector of Security. So where is the token? I turned it in. I set in the box with my badge. There was silence on Thelene. We threw the box out. Chase said it was negative artifacts. I closed my eyes and pinched. The bridge of Minos. You threw away the RSA token, the hardware key. It looked like a Tamagotchi. Preston yelled. How were Wes supposed to know? Then you have a problem. Preston, because without that token, you can't satisfy the heartbeat. And if you don't satisfy the heartbeaten, I checked my watch. For hours, the system goes into lockdown. We'll turn it off remotely. I don't have remote access, Preston. You revoked it. Remember? Fresh face. New era. Chase says he can bypass it. Preston. Thrend Hezzies. He can rewrite the kernel to ignore the check. My blood ran cold. Preston, listen to me very carefully. If Chase attempts to rewrite the kernel on a live DoD server, the intrusion detection system will interpret that as a hostile foreign attack. It won't just lock down. It will scorch the earth. You're just trying to scare us. Preston scoffed. You want your job back? Well, it's not happening. Chase is a wizard. He'll fix your mess. Clit, he hung up. I sat there in the silence of my cabin. A wizard? He called him a wizard. I picked up my phone and texted David. Me, get out of the building now. Tell the team to leave, pull the fire alarm if you have to. Just get out. David, why? What's happening? Hey, Chase is going totally to patch the kernel. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. David, I'm leaving. Taking the team to the bar across the street. Me. Good choice. Order a picture. Put it on my tab. I closed my laptop. I didn't need to watch the status page anymore. I knew what was going to happen. It's like watching a car crash in slow motion. You don't need to see the impact to know the glass is going to break. I went to the fridge and opened a bottle of white wine. I'm not a heavy drinker, but tonight felt like a special occasion. Tonight was the night the music died. The sun went down, the moon came up. The coyotes started howling. At 9 p.m., my phone rang. Wasn't Preston? It wasn't David Thekler. ID was blank, just a flat line. I answered on the first ring. Director Karen, redacted speaking. Karen. The voice was gravel, an old bourbon. It was General Miller. He wasn't technically a general anymore. He was a consultant 4th Pentagon, which meant he had more power than a general and answered to fewer people. We had worked together on the initial site architecture 5 years ago. General, I said, how's the hip? Hip is fine. The network is not. We just lost the heartbeat on cluster 4 through 9. We're seeing a massive encryption event. Are you under attack? I don't know, sir, I said, sipping my wine. I didn't work there anymore. There was a pause. A long, heavy pause. Say again. I was relieved of command on Tuesday. New management. Cultural shift. They wanted to go in a more vibe-based direction. Miller repeated the word, ASIF. It were a foreign contagion. Karen, who is manning the helm, a young gentleman named Chase. His previous experience includes running a Discord server and making TikToks about crypto. You are me. I wish I was, sir. They threw out the RSA keys. They ignored the handover protocols. And about 4 hours ago, the CEO told me Sicius was going to attempt to rewrite the kernel to bypass the heartbeat check. Rewrite the kernel. Miller's voice dropped an octave on a live Tier 1 node. Yes, sir. That triggers the counterintuition protocol alpha. I know, sir. It treats the facility as hostile territory. I know, sir. It dumps the keys and severs the trunk. Line, I warned them, sir. I could hear Miller lighting a cigar on the other end. I heard the click hiss of Zippo. Karen, are you secure? I'm at my residence. Secure line. Stay there. Do not, I repeat, do not contact the company. If they colite, you answer, but you admit nothing. You offer no help. You are a civilian now. Let them hang themselves. Understood. I'm initiating a level 4 audit. We're going to see what this chase is made of. Spoiler alert. I think's made of, sir, one request. I said, my team, the engineers, David and the crew, they're good people. They tried to stop it. I ordered them to evacate before Chase touched the kernel. Noted, well, keep the collateral damage to the executive suite. The line went dead. I looked at phone. The screen was dark. This was it. The machine had started. The DoD doesn't move fast, usually, but when you mess with their data, when you trigger an automated lockdown that mimics a cyber-terrorist attack, they move faster than light. I checked Twitter. I couldn't help myself. Chase had posted a tweet 2 hours ago at Chase Cyberking, late night grind, rewriting some legacy spaghetti code to free the data. Old guard didn't know how to optimize about 10x the throughputs. Cybersecurity attached was a photo, a selfie, him giving a thumbs up in front of a terminal screen. I zoomed him on the screen behind him. It was red. It was a command prompt. He had typed sudo rmrf var/lib/security/heartbeat. He had tried to delete the security daemon. I laughed. I laughed so hard, I nearly choked on my wine. He didn't. 10x 0x said the existence of the company. I went to bed. I slept like a baby. I slept the sleep of Thracius. I woke up to the smell of pine needles and the sound of my phone vibrating off the nightstand. It was 7 a.m. I had 42 missed calls, 30 from Preston, 10 from Brittany, 2 from Chase. I ignored them all. I made coffee. I put on my robe. I sat on my deck and watched the mist rise off the mountains. Then I opened my laptop. The internet was buzzing. Not the mainstream news yet. They're slow. But the tech sector was on fire. Reddit sysadmin threads were speculating about a massive outage at my former employer. User 492 did redacted, just drop off the map. I'm getting 0 ping from their entire block range. User 88, yay BGP, routes are withdrawn. It's like they ceased to exist. And then I saw it. The cherry on top of the Sunday of stupidity. Chase was live. He was streaming on Twitch from the server room. The title of the stream was Crisis Management, Earl saving the data from the haters. I clicked the link. There he was. He looked sweaty. His hoodie was stained. He was holding a Red Bull. Yo, Chit, what is up? Chase was saying, pacing back and forth in front of the lockdown server racks. The lights in the room were flashing red. Physical alarm indicator for a Tier 1 breach. So, we hit a little snag. The legacy code was way more borked than we thought. Total spaghetti. The previous director, Karen, total boomer energy. By the way, left us with some kind of logic bomb. I took a sip of coffee. Slander, I whispered. Add it to the lawsuit. But don't worry, Chase continued, pointing the camera at a rack of servers that can be biometric data for special forces operatives doing a hard reset. I've got my boys trying to physically bypass CLEX. The camera panned over to two guys in t-shirts trying to pry open a server cage with a screwdriver. My jaw dropped. They were physically breaking into a secure rack. Stop, I said to the screen. You idiots! The racks have a tamper sensors. If you pop that door, it dumps the liquid nitrogen fire suppression as if on cue. A hiss erupted on the stream. White gas blasted out of the rack, engulfing the two consultants. Whoa! Chase yelled, coughing. Okay, minor setback. The system is fighting back. It's like Skynet in here. Chat. He turned the camera back to himself. But look, I want to show you guys what we're dealing with. Look at this interface. It's archaic. He pointed the camera at a monitor. It was the main diagnostic terminal. On the screen was a flashing red box. Unauthorized access detected. IP traced. Department of Defense Protocol 99 initiated. And below that, clearly visible in 1080 per solution, were the routing numbers for a classified subnet. You see this? Chase said, zooming in on the classified numbers. This is the kind of bloat we're trying to cut. He just broadcasted classified routing info to 3,000 people in. Oh my God, I said. The chat was going wild. Sniper X. Dude, is that a DoD IP block? L33, T-hacks. Lol, he just leaked the gateway. FedWatcher. RIP. This guy. I didn't need to do anything. I didn't need to call the Durrell. I didn't need to call the FBI. Chase was doing it all for me. I saw movement in the background of the stream bend, the glass wall of the server room, up on the executive floor. Preston was banging on the glass. He looked purple. He was screaming, but the soundproof glass muted him. He looked like a fish in a tank that was rapidly running out of oxygen. Chase didn't notice. Anyway, guys, we're going to try to brute force the admin login. If anyone in chat knows how to crack a 4096-bit hash, drop a PogChamp in the chat. I closed the laptop. I couldn't watch anymore. It was like watching a man juggle hand grenades while riding a unicycle on a tight trope over a shark tank. I finished my coffee, went to my closet, and picked out a suit, a nice one, navy blue, sharp blazer. I had a feeling I'd be needing it later. The phone rang again. It was Preston. I let it go to voicemail. Beep. Karen, pick up. The police are here. Not the police. The military police. There's a tank in the parking lot. Karen, help us. I smiled. A tank? General Miller didn't mess around. I walked to the mirror and fixed my hair. I looked tired, but I looked sharp. Sorry, Preston said to the empty room. I'm afraid that's outside my scope. Off work, I didn't go to the site. I didn't need to. The news helicopters did the work for me. By 10 a.m., every local news station in Denver was circling the building. The headline on Channel 9 was, Military Activity at Tech Firm to Reach. The footage showed a convoy of black subs and two armored personnel carriers blocking the main entrance. Men in full tactical gear, not private security, but legitimate MPs with federal patches were setting up by. I turned on the TV and watched. It was better than any movie. A reporter was standing by the road. We're seeing reports of a massive federal raid. Employees are being escorted out of the building with their hands on their heads. We have not received a statement from the company, but sources say this is related to a severe breach of government data. I saw David walking out. He wasn't handcuffed. He was talking to an officer pointing at his phone. Good. He was showing their receipts. He was safe. Then the doors opened again. Preston came out. He was handcuffed. He was weeping. He looked like a man who had just realized that his MBA didn't cover high treason. Behind him came Brittany. She was screaming at the officers, probably demanding to speak to a manager. And then, Chase. Chase wasn't walking. He was being dragged. His feet were scraping the pavement. His hoodie was torn. He had lost his sunglasses. He looked like a child who had broken a vase and was now realizing the vase contained the ashes of a vengeful gut. They shoved him into the back of a black SUV. My phone rang. It was General Miller. Karan, he said. His voice wascom like he was ordering a sandwich. Gen Ravi, we have secured the facility. The threat has been neutralized. Idiotin, the hoodie tried to tell my men that it was a social experiment. How did that go over? One of my sergeants broke his nose. Accidentally. Of course. While assisting him into the vehicle. Of course. We have a mess here. Karen Tecolono is corrupted. The encryption keys are fragmented. The hardware is physically damaged. Something about liquid nitrogen. I saw that on Twitch. I said, right? Look, we need to bring the systems back online. You need to restore the handshake before the data degrades. But we can't do it without the original architect. That sounds like a difficult problem. I said, examining my nails. Karen, don't make me beg. I'm a general. I don't beg. I order. You can't order me. General, I'm a civilian. I'm unemployed. I'm currently looking in Totokin a pottery class. Miller chuckled, a dry, rasping sound. All right, how about this? I'm currently standing at the office of the former CEO. Nice view, terrible decor. I have the authority to appoint an interim federal administrator. For this site, full clearance, direct reporting line to the Pentagon, no corporate oversight, no chief of structure, and the PGS 15 level, plus a contracting bonus that would make your eyes water. And the staff. You hire who you want. You fire who you want. If anyone says the word vibe, I give you permission to tase them. I looked at TV. I saw the empty parking lot. I saw the wreckage of Preston's regime. I'll need a ride, I said. Chopper is already 5 minutes out. Pack a bag. I hung up. I walked to my safe. I opened it. I took out the binder. I walked out to my front yard. The wind was kicking up. In the distance, I heard the thwap, thwap, thwap of rotors. A Black Hawk helicopter wascrested the ridge, coming in low over the pines. My neighbors were going to hate this, I smiled. Landing a military helicopter in the parking lot of a corporate office park makes a statement. That statement is, playtime is over. He stepped out of the chopper, binder in hand. The wind whipped my hair, but I didn't care. A young lieutenant was waiting for me. He saluted. Ma'am, General Miller is waiting on the 10th floor. At ease. Lieutenant, I said. Let's go. We walked into the lobby. It was unrecognizable. Welcome desk was gone, replaced by a portable command posts. Soldiers were checking IDs. The Vibe Lounge had been turned into a holding area for seized electronics. I took the elevator up. The smell of lavender was gone. It smelled like gun oil and ozone. I walked into Preston's old office. General Miller was sitting behind the glass desk, smoking a cigar. He didn't care about the smoke detectors. Karen, he said, nodding, you look rested. I got about 12 hours of retirement. General? It was nice. The system is locked tight, Miller said, gesturing to the screens. We can't get in without wiping the drives. I placed the black binder on the desk. You don't need to wipe them? You just need the handshake? I opened the binder to page 42. Lieutenant, get me a secure terminal. They brought me a laptop. I plugged it into the hardline. I opened the terminal. It felt good. The cursor blinked at me. Familiar friend. I typed in the override sequence. It was a 64-character string that I had memorized, but I kept it in the binder just in case I had a stroke. Enter authorization key. I reached into my pocket. I hadn't told Preston everything. I had turned in the spare token. The master token, the one issued to me by the NSA 10 years ago, never left my person. It was on my keychain, disguised as a garage door opener. I plugged it in. Access granted. Heartbeat restored. System unlock in 3, 2, 1. On the wall monitors, the red lights turned amber, then one by one flickered to green. The fans in the building spun down from jet engine to gentle hum. We're green, I said. Miller exhaled a plume of smoke. Good work. Now, about the personnel? Where's David? I asked. Downstairs. We held him for debriefing. Release him. Give him a raise. Make him deputy director. Rehire everyone on the engineering team who didn't appear on that Twitch stream. Done. And the others? I asked. Preston. Chase. Brittany. Miller smiled. A cruel, jagged smile. They're in federal custody. Chase is facing charges under the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, plus reckless endangerment of national security assets. He's going to be in a cell for a long time. No TikTok in Leavenworth. And Preston. Gross negligence, fraud, breach of contract. Company is dissolved. Karen, we're seizing the assets. This is a government facilitono. I walked to the window. I looked down at the parking lot. The news crews were still there. What about the culture department? I asked. Gone, Miller said. We don't need culture. We need encryption. I turned back. To him. Window. I start. You already started, Miller said. Clean up this mess. Director. 6 months later. The office looks deferino. The beanbag chairs are gone. Collaboration pods have been replaced by rows of austere gray cubicles. The machine is still there, but nobody uses the milk frother anymore. We drink it black. I sit in my office. It's 64. Perfect. The sign on the door says Director of Federal Data Operations. The company, the old brand, is dead. The stock went to zero about 3 hours after the raid. The shareholders sued Preston into oblivion. Last I heard, he sold his Tesla and is managing a car wash in Aurora. Brittany is trying to rebrand hers as a victim of corporate toxicity on a podcast. Nobody listens to it. And Chase took a plea deal. 5 years in federal prison, followed by a lifetime ban from touching any computer connected to the internet. I imagined the withdrawal from social media as hurting him more than the prison food. I walked down to the server floor. It was quiet.bfl, that drone was back. David was there checking a rack. He wore a tie now. Director, he said, nodding. How are thelibs, David? Nominal? 99.999% uptime. Thermal variance is within 0.1%. Good. I walked through the rows of servers. The blue leads blinked in the darkness. It was a cathedral of data. Silent. Holy. I stopped at the rack where Chase had filmed his little video. The scorch marks from the liquid nitrogen were still faint on the floor tiles. We kept them there. A reminder that competence isn't flashy. It isn't viral. It doesn't get likes. Competence is boring. It's checking the logs. It's following the protocol. It's saying no when everyone else wants to say yes. People like Chase, they think the world runs on energy and vibes. They think if you believe hard enough, the gravity won't crush you. But I know the truth. World runs on servers. It runs on people who sit in cold rooms and make sure the lights stay green. I put my hand on the server rack. It hummed against my palm. You're safe now, I whispered. I walked back to the elevator. I had a meeting with the Pentagon. At 2 p.m. we were upgrading the encryption to quantum-resistant algorithms. It was going to be a headache. It was going to be tedious. It was going to be hard work. I couldn't wait. I swiped my badge. The light turned green. I stepped inside and the doors closed, sealing me in the beautiful, cold silence. Competence speaks louder than titles. Karen's meticulously designed systems didn't need her physically there to expose the absolute truth of who was qualified. Real integrity in your work always finds its moment, proving its worth when it matters most. Appreciate you all for sticking through this one. See you in the next story.